I don't know. I'm
So
not really,
it's something that has to be official, right? Anyone can request a
Yeah.
review. Let me just find out.
because it's got to be a battlefield down there. It's got to be a real war zone. With assault weapons. What is it? Yeah, he's telling me we're ready. Sweet. Yeah, I had already motioned to him. I thought he. Okay, do we have a quorum? We do. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hey, do we have everybody here? So tell me when and how I should bring it up. Okay. I guess can be done at any time, and I mean, it doesn't, I don't know if it's anything that needs to be voted on. Is it? Yeah. Something like that.
It's Thompson, the CUP.
With just sheer shenanigans. I mean, it's,
Okay, I think we're ready to start. Is everybody ready? All of your mics are on? Okay, it is 7:02, and I would like to call to order the December 8th, 2022 meeting of the Waukegan Planning and Zoning Commission. Can we have a roll call, please?
Anderson?
here,
Bill?
Here.
Griffin? Griffin?
here,
Grimes? Haug?
Here.
Hintz?
Here.
Rivera?
Here.
Rodriguez?
Here. We do have a quorum. In fact, we do have 100% attendance, which is really, really great. I'm always happy to see the level of commitment that we have among the members of the commission, and want to thank you all for, we're ending a year, and very happy to see that you have continued the same level of commitment and continue to be as involved in the community and, showing your concern for the community as you have. So, okay, minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes. Minutes of the meeting of October 27th and the minutes of the meeting of November 10th. So I hope you've all had a chance to read and review the minutes. If so, let's take them one at a time because I'm not sure that everybody was here for all of them, so we should vote on them separately. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of October 27th?
I'll do October 27th.
Motion by Commissioner Griffin to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of October 27th. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Grimes. Any comments or corrections or changes to the minutes? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Grimes? Griffin?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Anderson?
abstain, I wasn't present.
Hintz?
Yes.
Haug?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes, motion carries. Minutes are approved. Item 2B, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of November 10th, 2022.
Mr. Chairman, I'll motion to approve the minutes from November.
Motion by Commissioner Hintz to approve.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rivera. Any comments, corrections, changes to the minutes? Roll call vote, please.
Grimes? Griffin?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes,
Hintz?
Yes.
Haug?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes, motion carries, minutes are approved. Item 3 is audience time. This is an opportunity for anybody here to make a presentation or comment or discuss anything or ask questions of the commission. As we discuss the items that are on the zoning calendar, we have 2 items. These are public hearings, so anybody who wants to comment on these items or ask questions will have the opportunity then. But this is an opportunity for anybody who wants to discuss any item, whether it's on the agenda or not. You have anybody? No?
I have one comment, and I don't know how this should go forward, but I noticed from the minutes that we had a lot of activity again on Benny Avenue. And it seems to be definitely an industrial area that Waukegan has for small business. And it's in terrible shape.
the street itself.
Yeah, and I wonder if that and LeBaron Street, whether we shouldn't you know, improve those small areas so that we can, you know, it can be a good environment for the people who are moving in there.
Yes, point taken. I know that, pardon me for having a mic issue. I know that the condition of the streets in that area is on the radar of our engineering department and in the queue for upgrades. I don't know whether it's a simple resurfacing or whether there's reconstruction needed. And some of that is prioritized based on the actual condition, and it's not always the worst first. Sometimes it's the about to go bad. If you do less, you can get it further ahead. It's spending less money. So I don't know where it is, but I do know they're aware of it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving forward, informational items. This item was on the agenda for tonight, and it has been postponed until the January meeting due to illness of the presenter, from my understanding. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Item 5, old business. Is there any old business that we need to discuss? Okay,
Possibly.
possibly.
The report that was handed out at the end of the last meeting with the calls made to downtown, were we looking for any reaction from the zoning commission, planning and zoning commission? It seemed like a lot, but it's not in context of previous activity. I don't know what the previous activity was, but for a month, that seemed like a lot of calls in a very small part of the city.
Yes, it is a conditional use permit at the address in question, so the commission is always at its discretion to ask the petitioners from that CUP to come back before the commission and address any issues that you have, answer questions, that kind of thing. That would again be at the commission's discretion, and would ask for a majority of the commissioners to agree with that request.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to bring it up if you hadn't.
Oh.
And yeah, I don't know what anybody has heard, but downtown Waukegan has become a war zone on Saturday nights. And it's to the point where it's just scary. And, you know, when you see a video of a young man walking through the crowd with an assault rifle, and you see the recording taken from the front of Horse Feathers, which has the recording, the audio recording of 31 rounds being fired off in 12 seconds. And when you have Saturday night where there are riots on the street and fights taking place up and down the street, I think that something needs to be looked at because whatever the cause of it is, it happens when that particular business is in operation, particularly on Saturday nights. And it's reached a point that is beyond the point of reasonableness. And, you know, somebody was shot. And the report was that this person ended up in the hospital in Kenosha. And I don't know why none of our local news reporters haven't picked up on that, or why they haven't picked up on the video that's circulating of the young man walking in the crowd right in front of that building, the Academy building, right across from the, I still call it the Academy building, right across from the Genesee Theater, with the long rifle that's so long it's touching the ground as he's walking. I don't understand why there's been so much lack of attention or awareness from anybody in the community, or from people in the community. And it's gotten absolutely scary. And as I said, it seems to happen when this business is in operation. I live right at the other end of the block, and I am a witness to a lot of what's going on there. And it is absolutely intolerable, dangerous, scary. And I think that we need to request that this be looked into, if nothing else, you know, without pointing a finger of blame at anyone or anything or any organization. I really think we need to look into this and make sure that what's happening there, especially on Saturday nights, no longer continues to happen there. All we need is to have a mass shooting, a young man with an assault rifle walking through the crowd without being stopped or no police called out or nothing like that, we could have had another Highland Park situation. And that's what I'm afraid is going to happen, something like that, because people seem to have the attitude now that, well, we don't have to worry because the police aren't going to come. And I've seen that. I've seen things going on up and down the street, and the police aren't coming. People are say they're calling, and police aren't coming. So for whatever it's worth, I think that this needs to be looked into, and I think that this commission should request that this CUP be reviewed and the connection between this organization and the events that are happening on the street be investigated.
Chair, if I may, just to kind of comment on the process for revocation of a conditional use permit that's set forth in 3.11-8. Any violation in conditions will be subject to a revocation of the conditional use permit. Such violations can be reported by any city employee to the Planning and Zoning Commission for revocation. And so that's essentially how the process is kicked off. Of course, today we're not going to be able to take any final action. It's not on the agenda. However, what I just described is the process for beginning such a hearing.
So it's a city employee, not a citizen, who would have to initiate this?
Correct. The city employee reports it to this commission.
Okay. I guess I understand that there's an issue. I'm wondering if there aren't some other steps that the community can take prior to a hearing to revoke a conditional use permit. So I think my recommendation would be
Can I jump in for a second?
have a meeting.
Yeah, so the final condition on that conditional use permit and all of the conditional use permits is that at least within the first year of the CUP, any petitioner can be called before this board to answer questions and that kind of thing. So that would be a pre-revocation. It isn't on the agenda as an action item, but I don't believe that it needs to be for that. I believe the commission can just have consensus to request the staff schedule that petitioner for the subsequent meeting or some other future one if you wanted to wait. But if you ask that of us tonight, we would contact the petitioner and ask them to appear before you at the January meeting.
I'll make that recommendation, excuse me, because it's just that important.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
And it's not an item to be voted on. I don't think
Yeah.
we can actually have a vote on that.
We don't need a motion, we just need to know if anybody objects. And so if everybody's in agreement, then we will make that request that they appear before you to answer any questions that you have at the January meeting. I will note that we do expect that meeting to be on the lengthier side, so that you're aware.
Well,
I'm not trying to discourage you, I just want you to be prepared ahead of time.
but is that the first step?
I believe that that's the first step for the commission. There are already steps being taken by the city. There are multiple departments looking at the issues there.
Okay.
And I can't elaborate on that, but I can tell you there are multiple departments looking at the
All right.
issues.
So then,
I don't know who.
Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, that was under old business? Is there any other old business that needs to be
Mr.
discussed?
Chairman, I don't know what happened or who had the conditional use.
It is Carlos Smith for a Crazy Place at 208 North Genesee. That's the business at the location, the CUP, at the location where these issues are taking place in close proximity and appear to be tied to customers there. You're welcome.
Okay, moving on to new business, item 6. Is there anything else that we need to discuss on old business? Okay. New business, zoning calendar 2688, which is a request for a text amendment to section 4.4-24 of the City of Waukegan zoning ordinance, removing paragraph I, outdoor dining establishments, from the permitted temporary uses list.
Good evening again.
Thank you.
So this text amendment, as you can see, it's very brief. We have within the list of temporary uses an item that says outdoor dining. And that was added to the zoning ordinance in 2006 through an outdoor dining ordinance that was intended to create a process to approve outdoor dining at certain establishments. The process was never fully implemented, nor was it monitored going forward, and the city's currently looking at that because we realize that post-COVID, outdoor dining is an important part of a lot of establishments with food service, that they want to offer that. So the requests for that are becoming more frequent. More establishments are trying to implement that, and we're realizing that we have some issues with some and no issues with others. So in looking at it, it made more sense as a licensing process rather than a zoning process, because there are other factors outside of zoning that go into that. So a team of city departments has been working for several months on establishing a new process that will fall up under licensing. And so in order to allow for that, we need to remove it from a zoning list of temporary uses. So this really just cleans up the process by removing this from this list. And then there will be revisions to the city code in general that go, I believe, the first meeting of January to the city council, to the community development committee or the code revisions committee and the city council with the new process.
Any other commissioners have any questions of city staff? Okay, is there anybody here who would like to speak out either in support or opposition to this request, or who even has any questions about it? No? Okay. In that case, I would like to ask for a motion.
I so move that we approve the text amendment to section 4.4-2.4 of the Waukegan zoning ordinance, removing paragraph I, outdoor dining establishments, from the list of permitted temporary uses governed by the zoning ordinance.
Motion by Commissioner Anderson to recommend approval. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Bill. Did you want to say something?
I just want to make sure that the recommendation you were making, and I think you did this, was the motion you're making is a recommendation of approval.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
And if we can get the second to confirm.
Second, agreed.
Okay, agrees with that motion. Okay. So where are we? Motion second. Any further discussion on this motion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Grimes? Griffin?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Hintz?
Yes.
Haug?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes, motion carries. Item zoning calendar 2688 is approved. Thank you. 6B, zoning calendar number 2689, the request for a conditional use permit for an educational institution in the OI-1 district with a temporary use of two 28-foot by 70-foot modular classroom units at 621 Belvedere Road. Who will be making the presentation?
All three of us.
Okay, then what I'd like to do is ask you all to raise your right hand, and I will swear you in. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Is there a sign-up sheet at the podium? Oh, they've already signed up. Okay, good, good. What I'd like to do is ask you, as you begin to speak, please give your name and your affiliation with the project.
I'm Nick Standiford. I'm the zoning attorney for the project. Address is 70 West Madison, Suite 2300, Chicago, Illinois, 60602. This is Rory Conran. He's Menta Academy's CEO. And this is Alan Armbrust. He is the architect for the project from, let me get it right, STR Partners. So that's the group that you're hearing from today. So with that, you might remember me from last month. I was here presenting the cannabis dispensary, Planet 13. Tonight's applicant is a lot different than a cannabis dispensary. It's a school. And the reason we're here is the school currently is operating under a, you guys can sit down. The school is currently operating under a non-conforming existing use. It used to be a church. It's located in an industrial and office district. So what we've been asked to do is to add these two modular classrooms. Four classrooms, two of these modular units, which are kind of like trailers, and they're on the school premises. And so if you're increasing a non-conforming existing use, that triggers this process where we need to come in and get this conditional use permit for the property. So tonight you'll see that the application is for a conditional use permit for an educational institution, which has been there since 2008. And so it's been there quite a while, but since we're increasing that use by adding these 2 modulars to the site, that's why we're coming in here for this conditional use permit. So we're asking for the educational institution, we're asking for these 2 modulars that you see in your plans. So this is located at Belvedere and Archer. It's in, like I said, in the Office Industrial District, Office Institutional District, thank you, Noel. And so it's for, the reason for this request is twofold. We're going to cure the non-conforming status of the property, and the reason we're doing all this, asking for these 2 modulars, is because the school is full, and we need a temporary solution to house the additional demand that we've been getting for these special education students. So that's why we're here tonight. So with that, I'm going to let Rory talk about the school and about the problem that they're having and the request here tonight to solve that problem. So Rory, go ahead.
Hi, thank you for having me tonight, and thank you for your time. Our organization has been around for 50 years, and we provide special education services to the local school districts when they are unable to meet the needs of young adults, ages K through 22. All of our students retain their status with the local school district, so we partner directly with them in that we are trying to provide skills and teaching of these students in order to reintegrate back into their home school. Our organization has seen a lot of ebbs and flows, and over the past couple years, we've really seen an increase in the need from the local surrounding school districts for our services, which has created the need for the modular units. Without the modular units, we are going to have to start turning away students from being able to provide services for them, which ultimately leaves our school districts kind of in a bind because they have tried everything prior to coming to us. So our organization really strives on creating a community around the students, the families in our local school districts, and really developing those partnerships. I don't know if I mentioned either that we are a nonprofit organization, so that is also kind of really at the root is ensuring that we are continuing to really meet the needs and follow our mission and vision. So we are accredited through the Illinois State Board of Ed. We are heavily audited through the Illinois State Board of Ed, and we are also accredited through Cognia, which is a national accreditation. And we have been in Waukegan for over 25 years, and in this building just under 20 years, providing services to youth here. And we really do see that pendulum will eventually start to swing back, that the need is not going to be as high as we continue to do our job in getting kids back into their local community schools. We will see a decrease in enrollment as well. So we really do view this as a temporary solution to a problem that the local school districts are having. Okay. So where we are going to locate that is on the northeast corner of our parking lot. It's just southeast of our building and within walking distance. The parking lots or the parking spaces that would be taken from these modular units are very, very limited. Our parking lot already, as is, has more than enough spaces than what we actually need because it is only our staff that park. We do not have any students drive in and park. So currently, I think we're up to, what did we count? 75? Or 200, I'm sorry. Yeah, 200.
And then, so the orientation of the classrooms, there's a diagram in your packet. It's called interior floor plan. And what it is there's 2 classrooms. in each modular unit. So there's going to be 4 classrooms total. We're predicting 6 to 8 students in each classroom, and then 2 to 3 staff in each classroom. So that just gives you an idea of how much attention these students are getting, how strong the ratio is in each of these classrooms. And you'll see the orange area in the plan is the little, like the lobby entrance, and then the other little room is, I guess, the storage room or the closet for people's coats. Also in the packet is the interior floor plan, just kind of some images, I should say, actually, some images of other classrooms, and as you can see, it looks no different from another classroom. I'm originally from Michigan, and my high school had these modulars, and it was, the only difference was you had to walk outside in the cold for a few feet to get to them, but otherwise they're, the same as normal classrooms. The company that's providing these is called Vesta, and we've provided some pictures kind of showing some of what they provided to us, saying what these might look like. And what we're hoping to do is, it's going to be this white color that we're going to try to match towards the building so that people really won't be able to tell the difference between the school and the modulars. I'm gonna kick it over to Alan to talk about kind of how these things get put in and taken out to show you that this is a temporary use.
Good evening. I'm Alan Armbrust with at 106 North Owen Street in Mount Prospect. These modular units, they're not uncommon. Public schools, private schools, it really is designed to be a temporary use. It really is just very simply to take care of population spikes. There's no intention of keeping this forever. They're very straightforward. They're pre-manufactured. They're built and then trucked onto the site, placed onto the site. As you'd expect in any kind of temporary structure, the building permit application and the construction is really important in terms of how these buildings are attached to the ground. The requirements for these buildings are just the same as a permanent structure in terms of uplift for high winds and tornadoes and things like that. The placement of the buildings is intentional, complying with the building code as well, where the modular unit needs to be some distance away from the original building. The logic to that is driven by the fire code, so that a fire in either facility doesn't leapfrog to the other. So it's all pretty prescribed, just as it would be if it was a permanent structure. The most unusual thing about these is they do rest above the ground. So there's the attachment to the ground, there's skirting that seals off the outside, there's steps and ramps to maintain handicapped accessibility to these spaces, just as it would be in the existing school. So it's really a useful tool for any educational facility to really take care of these population bubbles.
So there are a few conditions in your packet, and we just wanted to bring up one that just highlight a few of them. There's a requirement that basically we'll have to come back in a year to the Development Committee, Development Review Board, and then with good cause have an extension of a year. So we get 1 year for the modulars, and then we come in and ask for another year if we have good cause, but they have to be removed by July of 2025. Our only request is that be modified to allow us one more bite and a third potential year, and continue it out to July 2026. The reason for that, and we included a sheet and some of the data, is that there's a lot of ebbs and flows with student population, and that's the reason we're not just doing an addition to the building, is because the numbers do dip. And historically, they've gone up and they've gone down. So we're at a high water mark currently, and we think we'll be there for a bit. But that's the one modification to the condition we would request. The other is, I'm forgetting it now. No, I think staff answered it. Yeah. Oh yes, no, staff answered that. So the need is here right now, and so we would respectfully request a recommendation for the conditional use permit for these modulars so that we can get these kids in classrooms. And we appreciate your time and service, and we welcome any questions.
Yeah, I have a question. I understand what you're saying about expecting the ebbs and the flows, and possibly this is just a high water mark, and from this point it may go down. I know there were some issues related to the pandemic that caused the need for these kinds of services as the students came back. But at what point do you begin to make alternative plans if you see that these numbers aren't going down, so that you don't have to ask for a fourth or a fifth year? I mean, it's quite possible, you know, that in a city like Waukegan, which, you know, at any time you could see a growth spurt in the population, people moving in, things like that. At what point do you start to make plans to come up with alternative facilities in case the numbers don't go down the way you're projecting?
Absolutely. We actually have already started those discussions. We've had architects' drawings and discussions internally as to what that might look like. But being good stewards of taxpayer dollars, we want to ensure that that is a long-term solution if that continues to be the case.
Okay. I'm not sure you answered my question. At what point do you start to look for, I know you say you're talking about it, but at what point do you know, let's just say that you realize in a year and a half, numbers are still high and you don't see a dip coming. When do you begin to start looking for alternative facilities?
So it would be after about that second year.
After the second year, assuming that you get the third year added in that you're requesting?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any questions? Yes, Commissioner Bill.
Yeah, I guess temporary is the imperative word here. Being an electrical professional, I've had really bad luck with temporary structures like this. They run down very fast. Is this going to be a new structure or rebuilt?
This is envisioned to be a new structure, correct?
Okay, and is there going to be toilet facilities in it?
No.
Okay.
There's options. It's almost like any other kind of car. There's a series of options you can get. Bathrooms is one. The institution has really looked at the research on that for their purposes, and they feel that they don't need the washrooms at this time.
All right.
So when, and to add some color to that process, if a student has to go to the bathroom, if the students get scheduled bathroom breaks, but if there's an emergency, someone has to go to the bathroom, one of those 2 to 3 staff members in the classroom will accompany them to the bathroom.
Okay.
And there's a door right directly across from where these modular doors are going to be sitting. That there's actually 3 doors, I believe, right there that enter into a hallway with a bathroom tucked in that hallway.
In your pictures, I noticed that there was the staircase that goes into the thing.
Correct.
Sort of looks like a deck-type structure that you might see in a residence, and it looks like packing crates in the bottom. I'm assuming that's going to be detailed in plans and detailed with the electrical use and everything else, and fire alarm connection if necessary.
Correct, yeah. The 2 critical pieces of this sort of development is the skirting around the side. It really is designed to keep, obviously, the weather out, but also animals and everything else. It really needs to be sealed. In terms of utilities, essentially the building draws power, internet, fire alarm connections, all from the existing building. So it behaves just like it would be if it was a regular classroom, and it's interconnected with the building. So if there's a fire alarm in either facility, it goes off in both. So the interconnection is really important. And that all gets designed and is part of that installation.
There'll be plans for that the city can review and everything.
Exactly right. That's part of the building permit application, correct.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
And with this being a private facility rather than a facility that's under the ISBE, you would be subject to all the city inspections and all the city regulations, right?
Correct, yeah, because being a private school, it does not revert to ISBE rules, it reverts to the municipality rules. So it behaves and is inspected just as any other structure. Yeah. And we've had extensive discussions on that, and we certainly welcome that opportunity.
Commissioner Bill.
One other thing that we ran across was that predominantly Romex is used in these structures, or BX, just because the traveling on the road and stuff like that, they shake around and move and stuff like that. There are different ways to put the outlets in, and the typical boxed, I'm sure you'll put this in your plans, but I actually had to make a visit to an Indiana facility that made
Do
these.
the inspection? Yep.
And to look at it and get them in coordinates with the city I work with. So basically, if the city wanted to require that, that would be an option that the city could take, I'm assuming.
Excellent point. Yeah, it is not unusual, and even now with public schools, the rules are such that they require a third-party inspection. So in your case, we could certainly go do that or hire a third party that's not related to either the institution or the manufacturer to perform those inspections. So we kind of get the advantage of the prefabrication, but being able to inspect it and get it improved before it arrives on site.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Haug, did you have something?
Yeah, does this fall under the jurisdiction of the ROE?
Being a private school, no.
Okay, because I know the charter schools have to do it. And,
That's correct.
okay.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I'm a school architect, and the delta between public schools, charter schools, and public schools, they're all treated a little bit differently. It's kind of confusing, to be honest.
Yes. Any other questions or comments from commissioners?
I have one.
Yes, Commissioner Anderson.
You're willing to comply with all of the recommendations that the planning and zoning, that the city is recommending, except for the date when the modular units would be removed, is that correct?
So, yes, all the conditions, and confirm, will be complied with, and requesting modification of condition number 10.
I'd like to ask how city staff feels about that request.
Yeah. You want the whole presentation? Yeah.
Maybe you can give us a shortened version?
I think as long as there's Development Review Board review of it, they would look at the student population, the status of any addition to the building or any other plans. They would do a similar review to what you would do at that point in time, but be faster than going through the public hearing process with the public notices and things. So I don't think it's an unreasonable request to add the third year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else from commissioners? Okay, I'd like to ask if anybody else here, I see one member of the public in the back. Hello. If anybody else wants to comment or ask questions or speak out on this? Okay, there is one letter of support from, let's see, Little Fort Property Management. Owners of the property described as 724 West Belvedere Road. They support this request. There's no explanation given, but they do support this. So, at this point, I would like to ask for a motion.
If I could clarify before the motion is made, if you do decide to make the motion to approve, to recommend approval, be specific about whether this is a recommendation of approval with the condition as amended.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, could I actually ask one question of city?
Sure, please.
Just procedurally, I guess, we're closing this gap for allowing an educational institution, and then there's a second component for the temporary. It feels like two different things to me. Like I think one makes sense to have the school there for sure. The temporaries are something we've talked about a little bit with timing and stuff. What's the benefit to having it together? Does that make it harder to have them together, or not necessarily? I'm sorry, that was a really long question, but.
Good question.
It's a perfectly valid question. So I guess the thing is that it's the temporary use that's triggering the requirement to comply now with the conditional use status, because they were grandfathered. So if the expansion weren't happening, they could stay grandfathered for the rest of my lifetime if there weren't any other changes that created the expansion.
Will they have to come back for a second conditional use after they exceed their time frame on the temporary structures, or not necessarily?
Since our attorney is sitting next to you, we can ask him to write the ordinance such that the conditional use approval would remain beyond the temporary use of the modulars.
Okay.
Is that workable?
And, I think some discussion or some clarification should be made as to what the plan is after 2026 if the condition is accepted.
Right.
The condition is no longer falls away at the end of 2025, right? Leaving the conditional use permit.
Right. Yeah. Do you want to say that to them the way you articulated
Since it's a condition, I suppose that would be not relevant after 2026. It's a condition of the vehicle, which is the conditional use approval. It's tied into the one approval. And that condition no longer becomes relevant anymore because it essentially dies in 2026. We can no longer seek a temporary modular at that time, unless we came back.
Can you still be an educational institution in the...
We could still be, yeah.
In the OI district, though, I guess.
We would have to, if we wanted, in 2026, we wanted to come back, we'd have to come back here with another conditional use application to amend our conditional use probably, or to amend the condition.
Yeah, and just to be clear why I'm asking, like, I want you there, and I
Oh,
want
yeah,
to make it simple for you.
it's a
if you
good
can, so
question.
That's why I'm asking, so
Thank
thanks.
you.
I think I answered, so thank you.
And as written, the way I see it, once it falls away, the modular use, because it will be, it's anticipated that this will be, I guess, eliminated. I agree, Mr. Standiford, there is no, as far as I can see, and of course we can always wordsmith, no additional conditions needed to continue that educational use. The only difference, I suppose, would be that it's no longer a legal non-conforming use. There's a CUP.
Right, it would become conforming by approval of the conditional use permit. So the use as an educational institution in the Office Institutional 1 district would be then conforming because the CUP exists as a conditional use. And then the temporary use would be temporary and then would fall away and just be an expired condition in the ordinance.
Commissioner Griffin.
I would think that we go back to Commissioner Rodriguez's question, is shouldn't they have a plan? If they know that that's going to fall away.
Yes, and
the temporary classrooms aren't going to be allowed after that. I would think that, there should be something on the docket that there's.
Yeah, I agree. And they already are having those discussions. They had those discussions with us. If this isn't just a blip in population, their plan would be to add on to the building.
I think the last thing we want to do is turn the students that need that service away.
Right. And I think that that's the reason, for me at least, that's the reason that I said I don't think the third year is unreasonable. I think the Development Review Board at the time of a request for a third year would be looking for them to be close to submitting for building permits, if not already having submitted for building permits for the addition, if they were going to continue to expand, or to be preparing to remove the units after that year. So I think that's one of the things that we would ask Development Review Board to be talking to them about at the time of the second review for the third year.
It's almost like a threat that if we don't continue the temporary use and that I think that there should be a plan somehow, a limit.
Yeah, and just for your knowledge, the Development Review Board consists of the directors of all of the city's departments. So it's the police chief, the fire chief, the building commissioner. I sit on there, or one of my staff represents me, the public works director, the chief of staff. It's a group of professionals within the city organization. So they would know whether things are already in the permit review process. They would know if there have been any issues, code violations, police reports, anything like that. That would all be on their radar already as the directors of those departments. So then when they're doing that review, they would have other information to add to the conversation with the peers.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from commissioners? Okay, then I'd like to ask for a motion, and when you make the motion, please specify whether you are recommending that the motion be subject to the, or approval be subject to the recommendations regarding number 10, whether we're talking about July 31st of 2025 as written, or whether we are going along with the request of extending that time period to 2026. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I
Yes, Commissioners.
recommend motion to recommend approval of zoning calendar 2689 with the revision to condition 10, still requiring an annual review by the development board, but allowing it to be renewed through July 31st of 2026.
Okay, you said it better than I did. We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Griffin. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Grimes? Griffin?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Hintz?
Yes.
Haug?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Rodriguez?
Yes, motion carries. Congratulations. Good luck with your project. And I didn't ask you of the date. I should have done that. Community Development Committee.
And to tell you when I was up
And you
there
sure
earlier,
did.
and I forgot to. Tuesday, January 3rd, not a Monday, since Monday is a holiday. It'll be Community Development Committee in this room, probably 5 p.m. or shortly thereafter.
And good luck with your project, and thank you for the work that you're doing. Okay. Is there any other new business that's not on the agenda that we need to discuss? Item 7, conditional use permit reviews. There are none. Before we adjourn, I would just like to thank Alderman Florian for being here again. It's every meeting, showing her commitment to the city and to the development of our city, and I wish more of city officials were as dedicated and committed as you are. Thank you for being here with us. And to all the commissioners, this is our last meeting of the year, and the holidays are coming up. We won't see each other until next year. And I'd like to wish you all Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, whatever you celebrate. And best wishes for the new year, for a happy, healthy, and prosperous new year.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn.
Before you do that,
We're all here,
Ted.
right?
Oh, I didn't hear what you said.
Great salary.
Yeah, the salary, the pay. They're going to double our salary for next year.
yes, I promise we will double your salary next year.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
and
you
know,
can
I
have
should
two
mention
zeros.
this too.
Yes,
The,
if I
new
can
list-
bother you with some business,
Okay, were you going to say that?
if I may.
Please.
So I handed out to each of you an updated roster of the commission. Those of you who had expired terms were reappointed on Monday night at City Council to a term that is a 3-year term after your term expired. 3 of you had still open terms, so your terms expire next December 31st, and hopefully we will be on top of the reappointments as the terms expire, so nobody has to sit here with an expired term. But we appreciate that all of you that had expired terms continued with us, and that everybody was interested in continuing. So everybody has open terms right now. You're all good to go. And again, we appreciate your staying on and your dedication to this work and to the community. Appreciate that you're taking a lot of your own personal time for the betterment of our city. We're very grateful for that. Thank you, yes.
And I'd like to thank you and city staff for all the hard work that you do, and I know that you all go out of your way to try to make our job easier, and that it doesn't go unnoticed.
Thank you.
So thank you all for the work that you continue to do.
I appreciate that very much. I do have an outstanding staff. And to that, we'll be getting 2 more in January. So I've made 2 offers of employment, and both have been accepted. So I believe only one of them will start before your January meeting, so you'll probably meet just one in January, but we'll have some great additions to the team. I think everybody will like them. And then the one other thing I wanted to add is in January, under the Open Meetings Act, we will need to set the dates of these meetings for the regular commission meetings for the year. So those have been the second Thursday of the month, and I wanted to confirm that that's still a convenient date for everybody. And I wanted to also ask whether the time of the meeting would be better moved to an earlier time. I know 7 o'clock isn't necessarily convenient for everybody. And it also makes a really long day for the staff since everybody's in this building by 8 a.m. and sometimes by 7. So I don't know how it is for everybody. I wasn't your staff person at the time that the 7 o'clock time was set. So I'm just asking if anybody has a preference for an alternate time or for staying at 7 p.m.
Well, maybe you can email us all and ask for everybody to respond with their preferences.
I can certainly do that. Absolutely.
I'll just add, emails definitely fine. There is no prohibition if you all wanted to discuss it and not come to any final actions regarding it tonight to see if there's a general consensus about timing. Otherwise, email's not an issue, not a legal issue anyway.
No,
thank you.
As long as she's emailing us and we're not emailing each other.
But what I'm saying, I guess, is if you wanted to discuss it generally tonight,
Yeah.
that would be allowed.
It is fair game for discussion this evening.
I'm seeing some heads going no.
That's why we want the meeting earlier.
Now can I ask for a motion to adjourn? Motion by Commissioner Grimes,
I'll second that.
second by Commissioner Bill. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned at 7:53.
Well, happy holidays.
Happy holidays to everybody.